I'm Ashley Malik, and I help midlife moms to feel amazing using nutrition and mindset strategies that give you the healthy, happy, and confident life you've been striving for. After losing 65 pounds in perimenopause, tackling gut health issues, and surviving breast cancer, I've learned that health and wellness is so much more than just gathering information. Learning to rewire your brain and your thoughts lets you take all that valuable information and put it into action so that you actually get results. Here, you'll get strategies for eating healthy food without feeling deprived, systems for making nutrition work for you and your family, and steps to rewire your brain so that you never have to rely on motivation again. If you're ready to be healthy, have more energy, and thrive in midlife, you're in the right place. This is the Family Fork Podcast. Hello there, my sweet friend, and welcome back to this episode of the Family Fork. So lately, I have been doing a lot of reflecting because I am getting ready to turn 51 just a couple of weeks. And when I turned 50, I set out knowing that my 50th year was going to be my year. And one of the things that I wanted to do is I wanted to get in the best shape of my life. And so I did a lot of things in preparation for getting in really healthy shape. And part of it comes back to I want to be really strong and fit and healthy as I get older. I have now 2 granddaughters, and I want to make sure that I am healthy enough and I have a 7-year-old. And so I want to make sure that I am healthy enough to play with my granddaughters, play with my daughter, be there at my daughter's graduation, like all of these things. And so for me, that meant really getting in the best shape of my life. So in anticipation of that, I did a bunch of things. I hired a physique coach because I kind of knew already how to eat, but I wasn't exactly sure on the best portions in order to create the physique that I wanted. So I hired someone to help me with that. I did a lot of cleaning up of my gut health because if you've been a listener for a little while, you will know gut health is directly correlated to your overall health and your ability to lose weight. And for me, in year 50, I wanted to lose 15 pounds and I wanted to pack on some serious muscle. And I had some pictures of what I wanted to look like, what I wanted my shape to look like. And I had plans both with my nutrition and with my workouts in terms of how I would get that shape. Then what happened when I turned 50? I ended up getting diagnosed with breast cancer, and I had to go through 3 different and very painful biopsies. I had 2 surgeries, a double mastectomy and also a reconstructive surgery. And there was tons of recovery time throughout all of that year, like in 2025. The holidays came up, and because I had been down for most of the year, I really wanted to enjoy the holidays. So we had lots of house guests. I think we had 18 people between Thanksgiving and January. There were a lot, it's like a revolving door in my house. There were a lot of house guests. Then my dad passed shortly before Christmas, but then we held this memorial service until January. So there were more house guests to manage and take care of and just guests around for that memorial service. And then at this time of recording this particular episode, my husband has been actually traveling for 6 weeks. And today he is stuck in South Asia because of the conflict that's happening in the Middle East. And I do not know when he'll be home. So 50 did not turn out the way that I thought it would. But here's what I want to share with you. I kept going. I did not stop. I could have stopped. There were so many reasons for me to stop, to give up, to spend a lot of time on the couch watching Netflix. My current favorite is Grey's Anatomy, but I kept going. I worked out wherever and however I could. And sometimes, as of recently, that has meant getting really back into my strength training and walking every day. I'd take 2 walks a day. But when, I was recovering from surgery, I still worked out, but it looked like walking around my dining room. So very, very different. But I just made sure that I moved my body every day. I started incorporating a lot of stretching, which is not something that I had done previously. So I didn't give up. I kept going with my workouts. I kept going with my nutrition. I kept a very dedicated anti-inflammatory meal plan always. I have worked very hard over the years to transition to anti-inflammatory, and I know that my body feels best. And especially with a lot of the health recovery that I needed to do, eating anti-inflammatory, I knew was going to help me repair and feel a lot better. I definitely continued to work on my nervous system and my mindset and my mental health because with all of the things that were taking place and going on, all of those things could have just gotten completely fried, right? Like my mindset, my mental health, there was definitely some depression, some anxiety that surrounded my cancer diagnosis and the loss of my dad. But I continued to work on all of it. I didn't stop. And I've had a lot of people over the last 10 months or so, they look at me and they're like, how did you do it? How did you keep going? With everything that you were up against, how did you keep going? And so today's episode, I want to give you the answer. If you have listened to the podcast for a little bit of time, you will know I actually lost 65 pounds in my late 40s. So smack dab in the middle of perimenopause, right where you might be right now, I lost 65 pounds. And during that time, there were a lot of lessons that I learned that have actually stayed with me all the way into now my 50s. And these lessons have allowed me to be consistent, which I know I hear this from women all the time. If only I could be more consistent. So I know you are wishing for that. I used to imagine that for myself. And now I just am consistent. That is how I identify myself as somebody who is consistent with health and wellness and nutrition. The reality is that your life is not going to stop. There will be illnesses. Your kids will get sick. You will have job or career challenges. There are holidays and vacations. And what I have learned over the course of the last 10 to 12 years is that if you aren't learning how to fit your physical health into your life, no matter what your life looks like, you'll never be consistent and you will never reach your goals. So you might be wondering, great. So how can I learn to be consistent and resilient regardless of what's going on around me? Being consistent and resilient is the only way that you will be able to stay healthy and strong for your entire life. So let's talk about a couple of these really important lessons that I learned on my journey of losing 65 pounds in my late 40s. I know that if you can adopt these into your life, you are actually going to quickly learn how to keep going no matter what life throws at you. The first and the most impactful lesson that I learned is that losing weight is not about the food that you eat, the workouts that you do, or the supplements that you take. It has everything to do with the way that you think. So I want to explain this because yes, of course, you need to eat healthy food. You need to move your body. You might need to take some supplements, especially as we get into midlife. But here's how it all ties into mindset. Your willpower, your motivation, your discipline, all of those things come from how you think and they come from the beliefs that you hold. So you can have a pile of healthy recipes sitting there in your kitchen, or you can have a gym membership that is to a gym that you actually love. If you don't think those recipes are going to taste good, or you don't believe that the work that you would put in the gym or that you have been putting out in the gym are giving you the results that you're looking for, you're never going to find, and I say that with air quotes, you're never going to find motivation or discipline. You actually have to completely change the way that you think. And the reason this is so hard is because it goes against the way your brain works, the way your brain is wired. This is a concept that I teach inside the perimenopause weight loss method, which is my 8-week container for helping you to lose weight in midlife. Your brain is designed to do one thing and one thing only, and that is to protect you. That's all it does. It protects you from harm, from injury, from all sorts of things. And so there are 3 mechanisms that the brain utilizes in order to protect you. Your brain avoids pain, both physical and perceived pain. Your brain seeks pleasure, so tries to find things that feel good or make you happy. And your brain also conserves energy. So it stops you from doing things that take a lot of effort. So let's think about this. Eating healthy food, right? When you hear the words healthy food, I know your brain goes to broccoli and spinach. So the idea of eating healthy food and then abandoning something like Chick-fil-A and your favorite Diet Coke, that doesn't sound fun or pleasurable, does it? Getting up to work out at 5 in the morning with like a heart pumping, muscle burning workout, that sounds pretty painful. And your brain is going to avoid pain. Figuring out which approach is going to work for you in your health or your weight loss journey, even if you've tried, or especially if you've tried a bunch of things already, that's going to take more effort. And again, that goes against your brain's built-in wiring, which is to conserve energy. So when you are expecting yourself to try yet another approach, your brain's like, no way, not going to do it. So once I really understood that the brain avoids pain, seeks pleasure, and conserves energy, I actually recognized that I could change the way that I was able to think. And by changing the way that I thought, I was able to create motivation and consistency. And for the days that I didn't have motivation, because there were plenty of them along that journey, I actually knew how to adjust my thinking to go against my brain's natural wiring so that I could still make really healthy food choices and I could still get that workout in. Remember, I told you when I was recovering from breast cancer surgery, my workout many days was walking around my dining room. My dining room. I used to go 4 or 5 miles a day and do a strength workout. So I could think to myself like, ugh, it's not worth it. But I changed the way that I thought. And I said to myself, you know what? Doing a little bit of something is going to help me to feel better. So I'm going to walk around the dining room 10 times today. When I was on my weight loss journey specifically, I saw the scale go up and down and up and down. And for many of us, that will make us just give up, right? But I adjusted my thinking so that I didn't throw in the towel, so that I didn't quit. Instead, I just tried a different approach. It really does take time and repetition. That's the most important part to rewire your brain and change the way you think. There's a common phrase that you hear a lot of in popular media today, and that's neuroplasticity. And that's what we're talking about here. Being able to rewire your brain and change the thoughts that you have. But it takes time and repetition over and over and over and over again. Truly, that's why I have an entire program dedicated to changing your mindset, because without the right thoughts on board, it is really, truly impossible to reach your health goals. All right, lesson number 2 that I learned. You have to find friends who think the way that you want to and who do the things that you desire to do. So I want you to think about your current friend group. Do you have friends that like working out or talk positively about fitness? Do your friends eat healthy? Does your group of friends or anyone of your friends get up early on a Saturday morning for yoga or a Pilates class? Or maybe you're on the other side of things. Do your friends eat dinner in front of the TV? Maybe they go out for a lot of happy hours and they probably wake up late on the weekends and maybe a little bit hungover. I'm not judging either lifestyle and I'm not advocating either lifestyle, but what I'm saying is who you hang out with dictates what you'll get out of life. I mean, don't you remember our parents telling us this? Like, well, who you hang out with is who you'll become. So if you are on a journey towards losing weight or having better health, it is really important to create new groups of friends. Doesn't mean that you have to abandon your current friends, but for me, I knew that losing a significant amount of weight was really important to me. So when you start to change your identity, for example, towards someone who is a strong, healthy woman who likes to prioritize health and fitness, if you have a group of friends that is still going out to happy hour 3 nights a week and waking up hungover at like 2 in the afternoon on the weekends, it's going to be hard for you to stick to the habits and the routines that support your identity of someone who is healthy and strong and prioritizing health and fitness. Plus, if you've really made this commitment to yourself to feel better, get healthier, lose some weight, if you can create new friend groups who like to do the things that you do, you're going to have more fun. I mean, it is a lot easier to call a friend who likes to work out and see if they want to go to a group fitness class with you, or maybe to go out to dinner and share a healthy but really delicious meal when you guys are out together. I think it was Oprah who said, it's important to be friends with people who are where you want to be. Look for those friend groups who aspire you to be more healthy, to take more control over your fitness or your wellness. And when you can find friend groups that are supportive of that, you are going to be so much more successful in actually achieving the goals that you're after. All right. The third lesson that I learned on my journey of losing 65 pounds is that losing weight takes time, like way more time than you think. A lot of times when I talk to people about my weight loss and my health journey, one of the first things they ask is, well, how long did it take you to lose 65 pounds? To be honest, I'm not exactly sure, but I do think that it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 years. And so I want you to do the math behind this. So most of us go into a weight loss journey thinking, I am going to, cut my calories and I'm going to do some more cardio and I'm going to lift some really heavy weights and I'm going to lose like 1 to 2 pounds a week. So if you do the math, 65 pounds over the span of 2 years, that is actually around just a little bit more than a half a pound a week. A half a pound a week. Do you know how slow that is? And if you think that you're going to be losing 1 to 2 pounds a week consistently until you hit your goal weight, a half a pound a week can feel incredibly defeating. So I want to go back to lesson number 1, which is all about how we think. So if you think that a half a pound a week isn't really good progress, you might give up. And in giving up, you'll probably look to things like peptides or fat burners or HRT, whatever it takes to get that weight off quickly, right? But none of those are sustainable solutions. That's not what we're going for when we're trying to change our health and our weight for the long term. So the scale, it's going to keep going up and down and up and down, and then you'll get frustrated and you just kind of give up altogether. Along with weight loss just being really slow, there are not many dopamine hits along the way. Let me explain what I mean by that. So you may know that dopamine is a neurotransmitter and a hormone that drives motivation and focus and impulse control. And basically, it's like a reward chemical for our brain. So if you go into your journey thinking, I'm going to lose 1 to 2 pounds of weight every week consistently until I hit my goal, but you see very slow weight loss, there is no dopamine in your brain. If you think about it, imagine stepping on the scale tomorrow and you've lost 2 pounds. How would you feel? Your heart would flutter a little bit. You'd get a smile on your face. And you'd be like, oh my gosh, that's so great. That right there, that feeling, that is dopamine. Your brain craves dopamine. And so if you're not going to get it from your weight loss journey, your brain, it's going to look somewhere else. So it's going to look for that quick weight loss solution, like I talked about, like peptides or HRT or maybe those scary fat burners. But that doesn't mean that you're going to be able to lose the weight in a healthy or a sustainable way. Eventually, you get frustrated and you give into your brain's natural wiring and you find something that is going to give you a big hit of dopamine. So maybe it's not the fat burners or the peptides, but maybe it's like a giant hot fudge sundae. Truth be told, that's like one of my favorite things in the world. Maybe you give into a couple of beers, or maybe you give into a bunch of decadent desserts. So it's important because weight loss is so slow, slower than you want it to be, and it is not a linear straight line. It goes up and down and up and down. You have to find small wins along the way to give you those little dopamine hits. You have to find ways to be proud of yourself for something other than your scale weight. So, for example, I've talked about this in previous episodes. Small wins can look like I drank enough water today, or I took a 10-minute walk. I took the stairs instead of taking the escalator, the elevator. You have to think differently about these challenging situations because, to be very honest, the road to weight loss and better health, it is long and boring. It just is. And if you think that you're going to find otherwise, you're going to be disappointed. So you have to train your brain to look for these small wins along the way so that you can have enough little dopamine hits that keep you going long enough in order to hit your goals. There were so many other small lessons and tips and tricks and all sorts of things that I learned along the way. But I wanted this to stay very impactful and manageable for you to have just these 3 really important lessons. So just to recap, losing weight, it's not about the food or the workouts or the supplements. It really has everything to do with the way you think. Number 2 was finding friends who think the way that you want to and who actually do the things that you desire to do. It's going to make your journey so much more fun. And finally, losing weight, it just takes time. And it's important to find small wins along the way that are not scale victories so that you can continue to have those little dopamine hits that encourage you to keep going and to stay the course no matter how long it takes. It's when you keep giving into your brain and letting it pull you away from your goals that you actually start getting frustrated and you give up altogether. So the faster you can rewire your brain to think differently and to think against your natural wiring, the easier it is for you to make changes to your health and wellness. And notice I didn't say faster, it's just easier. This is going to lead you to finding different friend groups and actually having more fun and more patience on your weight loss and your health journey. And all of that combined, that is what will allow you to have enough motivation and discipline on your journey and to maintain your new habits and to keep your results for life. So when I look back at my 50th year, it was nothing like what I expected, nothing. But because of these 3 lessons that I had already learned in my late 40s, I was able to maintain and actually improve my health despite everything that happened over the last 10 months. If you are struggling with motivation and discipline to hit your health and your weight loss goals, I really do encourage you to check out the perimenopause weight loss method. It is a 4-step method that is designed to rewire your brain so that you can actually think the right way to achieve your goals that you want and that you deserve. I'll link to the program in the show notes if you want to check that out. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really do hope that you can take some of these lessons and start applying them to your own life today. Be sure to join me next week for another really great and packed episode of The Family Fork. Thanks for listening to the Family Fork podcast. I hope today left you inspired and equipped with something tangible that you can put into action today. Remember, success is so much more than just gathering information. You have to put it into action. If this episode resonated with you, here's how you can help the show reach even more midlife moms. Hit follow, share it with a friend who's struggling in midlife too, and if you're feeling generous, leave us a review. Your thoughtful review helps other listeners discover these conversations when they need them the most. This show has become even more than I could have imagined, and it's because of loyal listeners like you who show up and share. You are helping to build this community and movement that will inspire midlife moms for years to come. For show notes, links, and resources, head to ashleymalek.com/podcast. Keep striving for the healthy, energized life that you deserve.